Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to Infinite Power and Love. We are in the family afterwards. We left off last week on page 128. So I always like to read the step aligned to the literature that we're on at the moment. So if you'd like to go to page 60, we're going to read step 12 together. Step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening, as the result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics, plural, and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Beautiful. So carrying this message and practicing these principles in all our affairs. And I always find it really amazing that they've condensed so much gold into 164 pages with the doctor's opinions and the forwards and the preface. And I just flicked today to the forward to the first edition, where it says at the end of that first paragraph, it says, "We think this account of our experiences will help everyone to better understand the alcoholic. Many do not comprehend that the alcoholic is a very sick person. And besides, we are sure that our way of living," love it when it tells us it's a way of living, it's consistent throughout the book, "our way of living has its advantages for all." So yeah, I find it really incredible that there are 76 pages for step 12. Got working with others, 2 wives, the family afterwards, 2 employers, and then a vision for you, all around one step. So that's that advantages for all. And just to sort of do a little tiny recap on what we've just read so far, it started telling us, so chapter 9, the family afterwards, on page 122. You know, I love that line where it says, "This involves a process of deflation." So this is relating to everyone in the family who might be trying to run the show. And again, there might be controversial parts in this chapter, because some of the bits in there, you know, Freedom was speaking about it afterwards, where they've kind of referenced, like, you know, we're giving much at the end of 2 wives, we're giving you much direction and advice, we may have seemed to lecture. And I just find it really amazing that they've managed to get such concise guidance around the things that are to be expected in the alcoholic home. And those are, you know, the specters from the past, the family being plagued by them, coming up again and again. You know, at first when the alcoholic gets well, it might be like, yay, but then these, you know, how did they specters from the past, there's, I can't remember the word now, veritable plague, there it is, and a blight, you know, pulling up the dirt from the past. But they talked about the fact that in the family, what we usually try to do is like shove everything under the carpet. We don't want to talk about it, we don't want to bring it up. And they were talking about on page 124, you know, cling to the thought that in God's hands, the dark past is the greatest possession you have, the key to life and happiness for others. With it, you can avert death and misery for them. And in turn for ourselves as well, right? Because if I'm unwilling to help others, then I am sure to be stuck in my selfishness and self-centeredness, in the bondage of self, and I'm sure to drink. So yeah, they talked about the alcoholic going one of 2 ways, going headstrong into rebuilding the life back up, or going crazily into recovery service, and how that might impact and affect the family. So we'll pick up from where we left off on page 128. We're at the top of the page. You know, they're constantly throughout the book just saying that if we can remember these beautiful watchwords of tolerance, love, spiritual understanding, kindness, patience, tolerance, all of these things are really essential as we work through, you know, living a spiritual life together. But they're going to give us some guidance here. So we're on page 128. Welcome to those that have just joined. Assume, on the other hand, that Father has, at the outset, a stirring spiritual experience. There's the beautiful two words, spiritual experience. So this is how the family, this is guidance to the family after the alcoholic has had this spiritual experience, right? Because we're in step 12. Hopefully the alcoholic has worked a program. And then it says overnight, which is a cool reference to how quickly this can happen for some of us. You know, it says sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. I always sort of think it's directed in how much energy and love and time and commitment I have to the program is the results that I get back. If I'm putting in a smidge of time with God, with service, with recovery, with unity, then I'm going to get a smidge back. But if I put everything in, I get an abundance. So overnight, as it were, he is a different man. He becomes a religious enthusiast. He is unable to focus on anything else. As soon as his sobriety begins to be taken as a matter of course, the family may look at their strange new dad with apprehension, then with irritation. There is talk about spiritual matters morning, noon, and night. He may demand that the family find God in a hurry, or exhibit amazing indifference to them and say he is above worldly considerations. I mean, I don't know if anybody can kind of relate to this stuff, but that whole attitude of an alcoholic or addict being so black and white, so all or nothing. I'm either charging into one thing or charging into another. And the irony of thinking, you know, above worldly considerations. Overnight, I've just had this spiritual experience, and how annoying and patronizing and thoughtless that could be to the family, speaking of these things morning, noon, and night. And it you know, coming from somewhere where I've been completely vacant, there's no one home, we can't communicate, and now I'm on a different path altogether. It's like, again, there's a bit in here, selfish and inconsiderate. Oh, I don't know where it is now. Selfish and inconsiderate habit. And in my book, I've got and still can, in step 9, I think. I can't remember the page off the top of my head. Maybe somebody else knows. So, and imagine, I just did a little cross-reference here to page 99 because I thought of a bit where it just talks about the family. So just, it's in working with others, and it's the second paragraph down. And it just says, after they have seen tangible results, the family will perhaps want to go along. These things will come to pass naturally and in good time, provided, however, the alcoholic continues to demonstrate that he can be sober, considerate, and helpful, regardless of what anyone says or does. And I like that, because where it's sort of saying on page 128, we talk of spiritual matters morning, noon, and night, and demanding that the family find God in a hurry. It's just like, is that me trying to run the show? Am I trying to control everyone again? Am I being self-righteous, judgmental, all of those things? And it can be easy to do, but it's like, this is really good guidance. So he may tell mother, who has been religious all of her life, that she doesn't know what it's all about, and that she had better get his brand of spirituality while there is yet time. You can just imagine how that goes down. Like, oh, thank you, Freedom, page 83. Let me just see where you're at. 83. Yes. Oh, I've got 82. Maybe there was a miss thing there. Selfish and inconsiderate habits have kept the home in turmoil. It's on page 82. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines down. Thank you for that. So when father takes this tack, so this route, this option, the family may react unfavorably, quite understandably. Imagine you've been slobbed around on the sofa, hanging, and feeling rubbish and just a shell of yourself, and then all of a sudden you're trying to run the show and tell people how to be. They may be jealous of a God who has stolen dad's affections. While grateful that he drinks no more, they may not like the idea that God has accomplished the miracle where they failed. They often forget that father was beyond human aid. I've squiggly underlined that bit. For me, that's another like running thread throughout the book. Beyond human aid, beyond human aid. So I did 2 cross references. I could probably find a load more. But the thing that jumped to mind there was frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices, which is, in the doctor's opinion, 28 Roman numerals, which is XXVIII. And that's where it says, frothy emotional appeal seldom suffices. So as hard as the family have tried, you could say anything, you could do anything. Hi, welcome. There's nothing, no human power. And if you just turn the page, let me see, I did another cross reference, X, X, Y, X. So just, where did I do it? More than human power. Maybe it was that cross reference. Just across the page, it says, one feels that something more than human power is produced to produce the essential psychic change. But there's many references in the book, isn't there, to beyond human aid. This is it. We're brought to our knees to find this higher power, this God, whatever you'd like to call it. We're just on page 128 for anyone who has just joined. Family afterwards. They may not see why their love and devotion did not straighten him out. Dad is not so spiritual after all, they say. If he means to right his past wrongs, why all this concern for everyone in the world but his family? What about his talk? What about his talk that God will take care of them? They suspect father is a bit balmy. And this I almost feel a bit of guilt here. I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but that if he means to right his past wrongs, why all this concern for everyone in the world but his family? I don't know if you can relate to being super available and patient and calm and loving with like newcomers or sponsees or people in the rooms, but then get me on the phone to a family member and I can be really impatient and I can sort of jump back. I was with my mum the other day and I just reacted like a teenager again. And I was just like, oh, I just snapped at my mum. you know. But it makes me think about, am I sharing with the family about all the other people I'm helping, when maybe my family might need some care, some time, some attention, some listening, some action, you know? Um, and balmy, means crazy, a bit, and they're confused, right? So this book, welcome to those that have just joined. A bit balmy, a little bit loopy. A minute ago it says overnight. So you can really understand the family being like, who even are you? Like a minute ago, you're a train wreck. And then now all of this. So he is not so unbalanced as they might think. Many of us have experienced dad's elation. Oh, I love this bit. We have indulged, or the next bit, sorry. We have indulged in spiritual intoxication. Question mark. Who can relate to that? Indulging in spiritual intoxication. We're just on page 128. Spiritual drunkenness, like addicted to the recovery, to the feeling, to the almost like the selfishness. Like I have kind of put my family stuff to the side because I'm like, I need to go and be with my people. I need to go and be with my tribe. But again, it's like, you know, this bit is one of my favorites. Like the gaunt prospector, belt drawn over the last ounce of food. So just imagining that kind of prospector with his little pick, skinny and bony, ribs gaunt, like the vision of an alcoholic or an addict before coming in, right? Zombified, ill, grey, yellow, pale, skinny, however that looks for you. Like a gaunt prospector, belt drawn in over the last ounce of food. Our pick struck gold. Joy at our release from a lifetime of frustration knew no bounds. When I read this bit earlier, again, it really brings it home a lot. This is why I love studying this book, because it's little bits of gold in the book that, you might not read so often. Depends obviously how many times you go round to different sponsees or book studies. But joy our release from a lifetime of frustration knew no bounds. Father feels he has struck something better than gold. And I really contemplated that earlier and thought, do I sometimes get, hi Rob, do I sometimes get complacent about this thing that I've struck something better than gold. I've had this lifetime of frustration, not understanding that I have this mind, body, and spirit illness, which is leading me to powerlessly pick up a substance that is slowly killing myself. But even without a substance slowly killing me physically, this spiritual malady in my heart leaves me feeling restless, irritable, and discontented. But when I'm willing to put in this work and work a program, I feel like I've struck something better than gold, you know? For a time, he may try to hug the new treasure to himself. I've put a question mark in there. Have you ever felt like, I'm not going to pass that on? It might be a small thing. It might be like a reading, or it might be something helpful, and just thought, oh, I want to take the credit for that. I don't want to just give that. I don't want, I want to be selective about who I give it to, or whatever it might. For a time he may try to hug the new treasure to himself. He may not see at once that he has barely scratched a limitless load. I love that. A load being a rich source of something. And this whole idea of the program, the 12 steps, this spiritual awakening that I'm experiencing is absolutely limitless. It's infinite. It can't run out. It may have ups and downs and challenges, but on this spiritual, what we've entered the world of the spirit, you guys, it's insane, isn't it? From that place of hell, that place of torment, a lifetime of frustration. So he may not see at once that he's barely scratched a limitless load, which will pay dividends. And then there's a condition: only if he minds it for the rest of his life. So that, for me, you know, in the other book study that I do, I always squiggly underline whenever it says design for living, way of life. Oh, there's loads of examples. I can't think of them now. Design for living, way of life, way of living. There's loads all the way through the book. I'm going to do a handout one day. And the rest of his life. And I love that idea of mining for it for the rest. So it's like, am I earnestly seeking, or am I, and you know, we can all maybe experience this on our journeys of like cruise control for a hot minute, or am I putting more time and energy and love into this thing, this spiritual realm, this limitless load? If only if he minds it for the rest of his life and insists on giving away the entire product, not just a bit of it, the entire product. I love that. And the whole way through the book, it's self-sacrifice and harmonious brotherly action. You know, if the family cooperates, Dad will soon see that he is suffering from a distortion of values. So who can relate to this? He will perceive that his spiritual growth is lopsided, that for an average man like himself, a spiritual life which does not include his family obligations may not be so perfect after all. Yeah, I mean, this is all part of the learning and the journey, isn't it? Family obligations. Am I showing up in meetings, talking the talk, showing up in that respect, but not being there for my family? Hi, Linda. Hi, Jessica. If the family will appreciate that Dad's current behavior is but a phase of his development. I like that that reference, phase of his development. It reminds me of the step 9 promises. You know, if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, and again, I love, whenever I think of that, I think of the infinite spiritual journey that we're all on, and that this is talking about in early recovery, but what phase of our development are we in, and can we shift around, can we move around with it? So if the family will appreciate that Dad's current behavior is but a phase of his development, all will be well. In the midst of an understanding and sympathetic family, these vagaries of Dad's spiritual infancy will quickly disappear. So vagaries means an unexpected change in behavior or situation. And spiritual infancy. So I don't know what you guys think or feel about, you know, where you're at in your recovery. I love the idea of humility, in the sense that, whether, I know there are people on this meeting now who are decades into their recoveries, but you know, if I can show up like with that blank slate every day. But this is talking about real, when the alcoholic first gets sober, that absolute spiritual infancy. How cute is that? The opposite may happen should the family condemn and criticize. I mean, this is never, ever, ever going to go down well. The whole way through the book, it warns us about don't criticize, don't condemn. It never goes down, it never works well. Dad may feel that for years his drinking has placed him on the wrong side of every argument. But now that he has become a superior person with God on his side, if the family persists in criticism, this fallacy may take a still greater hold further. So his mistaken belief about the family criticizing, and the sad truth, because we just went through to wives over the past couple of weeks, and they did give a lot of advice around, don't upset the alcoholic, because if you do, they might relapse, and try not to be condemning and this and that. And it must be so challenging for the non-addict or alcoholic to show up like that when they're just really, really frustrated. But the truth is, this paragraph right here, if we suddenly get well and we feel this revived bit of life and energy and passion and all of this stuff coming back, and we've got a family member going, oh, think you're so spiritual, do you? Oh yeah, you're going to go to another meeting, are you? Yeah, you're going to be on the phone to another sponsee for 2 hours, are you? It's like I'm not suddenly gonna, my instant reaction is to go and be with my tribe who get it. So the family are in between a rock and a hard place, kind of. They've just had to deal with all of the alcoholism, and now they're just having to be really, really patient. And it's going to talk more about Al-Anon, and maybe my sponsor always says that Al-Anon is really underused, because if you think one alcoholic or addict, how many people do we affect? That tornado, in the eye of the storm, we might have parents, we might have children, we might have brothers and sisters and uncles and aunties and cousins and colleagues and friends. Why isn't Al-Anon heaving? Because, but it isn't. So I don't know. It's a shame, isn't it? Because 12 steps is so powerful, it can help everyone. But this fallacy may still take a great hold further. Instead of treating the family as he should, he may retreat further into himself, and feel he has spiritual justification for so doing. So again, it's if the family is trying to be effective and work together as a team, because we've just gone through 2 wives, which kind of gave guidance around, are you willing to stick around with the alcoholic? Because if you are, there's some guidance. But if you're dealing with someone who's a bit of a no hope, you might have to let them go. This is obviously the family, but people can still let their families go, can't they? Though the family does not fully agree with Dad's spiritual activities, they should, and we were talking about this before the book study started, there are lots of shoulds and oughts in this chapter, which can be a bit of a harsh word. I mean, I have got a sign, which not everybody is fond of, but I really like it because it's sparkly, and it does kind of say, this guidance, you can take it or leave it, but this is lived experience. So if these suggestions are going to be effective, if I take them, if I work them, if I use them. So they should let him have his head. Even if he displays a certain amount of neglect and irresponsibility towards the family, it is well to let him go as far as he likes in helping other alcoholics. During those first days of convalescence, and that means recovering from illness, this will do more to ensure his sobriety than anything else. And the reason I just mentioned Al Anon or Koanon or one of these supportive sister fellowships is that you can really understand from the parents, the loved ones, the partners, they've just gone through hell with the alcoholic or addict. Now, the day that they've waited for, where the alcoholic or addict stops drinking or using, has come. And we're now telling them just to be more patient. Okay, babe, you go and help them. You've not been present. You've not been home for however long because you've been out of this world in oblivion. But now go do your thing. It's just like, oh, so it does, really make us think, I guess, about the family and the impact. And I did a little cross-reference here to page 89, which is the beginning of this step, if you like, working with others. Such a powerful line. It starts off the chapter on page 89. Practical experience shows. Doesn't just tell. Practical experience shows that nothing, I love the black and whiteness of that, nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. It works when other activities fail. So bless the family, they're guided here to just let us do our thing, work with as many people as we can, even if we're neglectful and show irresponsibility towards the family at first. Though some of his manifestations are alarming and disagreeable, we think Dad will be on a firmer foundation than the man who is placing business or professional success ahead of spiritual development. And I've kind of, in the other book study, I do a bit of a color code. I won't go into it now because you might not have it, but that's like a warning there, isn't it? And they've told us about this a couple of times in this chapter already. So on page 27, the second paragraph down, it's right in the middle of the page. It says, but he must, we do my sign, but he must see the danger of over concentration on financial success. Although financial recovery is on the way for many of us, we found that we could not place money first. For us, material well-being always followed spiritual progress. It never preceded. And then if you want to just flick your eyes over to page 126, second paragraph down, it says, we think it dangerous if he rushes headlong at his economic problem. The family will be affected also. So they're really, really drumming it home. If we're gonna go headstrong into anything, like an alcoholic, hi Dolores, good to see you, page 130. If we're gonna go headstrong into anything, let it be into working with others. Because that's the thing, that's the magic. By giving this away, that's how I get to stay well and happy, joyous and free and in God's, alignment. So he will be less we're just on page 130, he will be less likely to drink again, and anything is preferable to that. Those of us who have spent much time in the world of spiritual make-believe have eventually seen the childishness of it. I think I'm still in this childish stage of spiritual make-believes. I'm just all up in it, I'm only 5 years into my recovery, and it's like, but it says here, This dream world has been replaced by a great sense of purpose. Love that line. A great sense of purpose, accompanied by a growing consciousness of the power of God in our lives. So now, we're in this beautiful 12th step. We're talking about all the other people who are affected in a positive and sometimes negative way. But this reminds me of step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. This great sense of purpose by giving away my experience, my dark past has become my greatest possession. I now have this purpose, and as I start to give it away more and more, I get a growing consciousness of the power of God. And it's like a cycle. The more I give away, the more I receive, the more I want to shout about this spiritual program. Sometimes I still get blown away because I'm like, is that all I have to do? All I have to do is pray and meditate and do inventory and work with others and do service. There's other things within that, but trust God, clean house, help others. It's like, what an amazing swapsy. I get to give away my alcoholism, and it's powerful stuff, isn't it? We have come to believe he would like, so capital H, he would like us to keep our head in the clouds with him. That in this dream world, this childish spiritual make-believe, we can stay on this other realm, this like fourth dimension, connected closer to God, keep our head in the clouds, but our feet ought, so there's another sort of strong word, ought, like should, like must, be firmly planted on earth. Why? Because that is where our fellow travelers are. That is where our work must be done. And I don't know about you all, but sometimes, I can sort of retract and turn into a bit of a hermit and like not want to go out or talk to humans. Like I just want to go out and build stuff. I you know what I mean? But this is where the work must be done with other humans. Unity, recovery, unity, and service. And that balance of the triangle, recovery being the steps, unity being the traditions, and service being the concepts. Am I in the middle of the triangle? These are the realities for us. We have found nothing incompatible between a powerful spiritual experience and a life of sane and happy usefulness. That's really cool, isn't it? And it says not just happy usefulness, but sane and happy usefulness. Again, relating to my insanity and how quickly, I don't know about you guys, but how quickly my insanity can return with the selfishness, with, the thinking. When I stay aligned on this path and I give it away, I'm reminded of all of this stuff when I read it with another woman, or study it in a book study. One more suggestion: whether the family has spiritual convictions or not, they may do well to examine the principles by which the alcoholic member is trying to live. They can hardly fail to approve these simple principles, though the head of the house still fails somewhat at practicing them. Nothing will help the man who is off on a spiritual tangent so much as the wife who adopts a sane spiritual program, making better practical use of it. I have heard over these years, I've spoken with different family members and family members of other addicts and alcoholics, and it's quite common, isn't it, for people to say, it's not my problem. It's your problem. If you want to go to your meetings, you go to your meetings. But you know, the 12 steps are so powerful and can apply to so many different people. You'd think, like I said before, that Al-Anon would be heaving just at the sheer amount of people's lives that we've affected, and how beneficial it is for them, not just for us. So yeah, I kind of actually want to go to more Al-Anon meetings, just because I have family members who are addicts and alcoholics, and then I can maybe more confidently share about it to help family members more from you know, their own challenges that they experience. There will be other profound changes in the household. Liquor incapacitated father for so many years that mother became the head of the house. Incapacitated means deprived of strength or power. She met these responsibilities gallantly, so bravely, without choice. She didn't, or they, whoever they, not she, whoever they were, had to step up when, you know, these responsibilities that I had could not be met. Family had to step up, though they didn't want to. By force of circumstances, she was often obliged to treat father as a sick or wayward child. And this bit actually made me think of my own immaturity, but also I've, you know, spoken with sponsees and stuff the same way. You know, that impatience of when you want the family to respect you again because you're now in recovery and you're, you know, you're not drinking or using, and you feel like, oh, I'm, you know, I'm become this spiritual person. It's like how impatiently I expect my family to start respecting me, when a minute ago I was like, but can you lend me some money because I can't pay my rent, or like everything's collapsed around me and everyone has to like sort it out. You know, doing the dishes was like a massive palaver, and all of a sudden I'm just like, I'm a grown woman, you know. And it's like, you just literally were like a wayward, a sick or wayward child, like a hot minute ago. You were a mess. So even when he wanted to assert himself, he could not, for his drinking placed him constantly in the wrong. Ooh, do you remember that feeling of you couldn't do anything right, and that baffling confusion of why does this always happen to me? But untreated alcoholism and drinking and using, it's just constant struggle, because I needed to be brought to my knees. I needed to have that note, that hopelessness that the book talks about, until I was willing to seek God. It's just unbelievable the way it works. Mother made all the plans and gave the directions. When sober, father usually obeyed. Thus, mother, through no fault of her own, became accustomed to wearing the family trousers. So I know it's, you know, it was written back in the day, so it's like, you know, quite gender dated. We can just apply it to the current day, whoever it is, male, female, whatever. Father coming suddenly to life again often begins to assert himself. This means trouble unless the family watches for these tendencies in each other and comes to a friendly agreement about them. So I love the guidance around this, that they know that this is coming, and they're saying a friendly agreement, like watch for these tendencies because it's inevitable. Yeah, Drinking isolates most homes from the outside world. Father may have laid aside for years all normal activities, clubs, civic duties, sports. When he renews interest in such things, a feeling of jealousy may arise. Again, like understandably so, right? Imagine whatever our experience looked like. So, you know, that terror, bewilderment, frustration, and despair, that impending calamity, maybe not wanting to go out, that fear, that all of that comes with drinking and using, and the end of our days, blotting out the consciousness of our intolerable situation. And then all of a sudden, it's saying like overnight, I feel better, and I'm like, bye. Just going to play tennis with my mates. Yeah, I'm just going. I'm going to the cinema with my friends, or we're going with Unity Days. Woohoo! Recovery conventions. Woohoo! And we're buzzing about it. Can you imagine for the family? They're just. I mean, this is all essential. And I did a little cross reference here to page 152, because if you're anything like me, um, alcoholism, addiction stripped away all of the fun, the joy, the hobbies, all of the activities that were once a thing. And on page 152, it says the second, the third paragraph down, it says, yes, there is a substitute, and it is vastly more than that. It is a fellowship in Alcoholics Anonymous. There you will find release from care, boredom, and worry. And this is the bit I did the cross reference to. Your imagination will be fired. Life will mean something at last. The most satisfactory years of your existence lie ahead. You know, when you get that zest of energy again, and it's almost like better than anything before, because before it was sort of like I'm kind of like the actor running the show. I don't really fully know myself. Drinking or using is completely taking over my whole life, until slowly but surely all of those things are dropped out. And then when you re-find them again, it's just amazing, isn't it? It's like that gaunt prospector that struck gold. It's like, I didn't even know that I liked doing puzzles, or like climbing mountains, or whatever the new thing is. It's like, I didn't even know that I liked this. It's like a whole new walk of life. So they're warning the family, a feeling of jealousy may arise. The family may feel that they hold a mortgage on dad so big that no equity should be left for outsiders. Instead of developing new channels of activities for themselves, mother and children demand that he stay home and make up the deficiency. And again, like that kind of sometimes controversial chapter of To Wives, where they give this direction about what is effective and what isn't. This, for an alcoholic or addict, is not effective, is it? Because it's sort of like, stay home, be with us, you owe us, you've ruined our lives, we want you to be how you used to be. It just doesn't. But if both people can, as it goes on to say, at the very beginning, the couple ought, there's another strong guidance word, ought to frankly face the fact that each will have to yield here and there, if the family is going to play an effective part in the new life. So again, that bit really reminds me of Al-Anon, because Al-Anon, they're not alcoholics obviously, but the thing that they're powerless over, and the thing they're obsessed with, is the alcoholic. And the thing that has become unmanageable is their own lives around alcoholic or addict. So finding their own hobbies, and yield means to give way to an argument, demand, or pressure. So if we've all decided that we want to, be together still, these things are really helpful to kind of tackle before they start to manifest. Father will necessarily spend much time with other alcoholics, but this activity should be balanced. So again, that guidance on, am I neglecting my family? Am I selfishly spending all of my time and energy helping others because it makes me feel good? Or am I showing up for the people who stuck by me when I was in a right state? New acquaintances who know nothing of alcoholism might be made, and thoughtful consideration given their needs. The problems of the community might engage attention. Though the family has no religious connections, they may wish to make contact with or take membership in a religious body. Alcoholics who have derided religious people will be helped by such contact. So that word means ridicule or express contempt for. And it always makes me chuckle a little bit at the amount of people that I've heard, and how it's so identifiable, of that whole being freaked out by the word God and being like, ooh, no, religious people. There's that bit in We Agnostics, isn't it? About, seeing the condemned, the whole condemnation of everyone, the ugliness of all of the, didn't see the beauty. Oh, I'm bodging it up. I'm really messing it up. I love it so much. Wholesale condemnation. They missed the beauty of the forest because of the ugliness of a few trees or something. And this kind of ridicule or express contempt for religious people. And this isn't a religious program, but their experience is that when we become kind, reliable, thoughtful members of the community and of civilization, we can then show up and be useful and helpful, and we actually stop being so judgmental about things that we have no idea about. Being possessed of a spiritual experience. And I love this word, possessed of a spiritual experience. I think of the difference before I came into recovery. I think of a zombie. I was possessed by alcohol. I literally used to drag myself to the shop, to the same part of the shop, looking for the yellow labels or whatever, it was like Groundhog Day. I was possessed. I couldn't be without the alcohol. And now I'm possessed of a spiritual experience. So being possessed of a spiritual experience, the alcoholic will find he has much in common with these people, because they are seeking God. They are seeking usefulness, purposefulness, purpose, even love, tolerance, acceptance, all of these things that we get when we're on a spiritual plane. So find he has much in common with these people, though he may differ with them on many matters. If he does not argue about religion, there's a warning. Let's not argue about religion. What do we know? Even if we are religious, what do we know, right? If he does not argue about religion, he will make new friends and is sure to find avenues of usefulness. There's that beautiful word, full of use and pleasure. I love that, because it's like, you know, laying aside what I thought was fun, what my old ideas of fun were getting obliterated, talking crap to someone possibly before I got really, really isolated. My idea of like, yay, fun was literally like, yeah, let's get smashed. My new ideas around pleasure are being useful and having connections with people. And religious people are on the same path as in seeking a spiritual experience, right? So it's coming to the end of the study. Let me just see how many pages we've got left. Okay, I'll carry on reading and finish this paragraph. He and his family can be a bright spot in such congregations. He may bring new hope and new courage to many a priest, minister, or rabbi who gives his all to minister to our troubled world. We are miracles, aren't we? We are absolute miracles, and we do give people hope. And I think that, you know, this whole idea of attractiveness, attraction rather than promotion, us turning our lives around with the power of God, becoming these incredible citizens and sharing our story is so hopeful. I don't know one person that isn't affected by alcoholism and addiction somewhere down the line. And the ministers and rabbis and priests, these are the people that get a lot of people coming in prayer that they need help. We intend the foregoing as a helpful suggestion only. So far as we are concerned, there is nothing obligatory about it. As non-dominational people, we cannot make up others' minds for them. Each individual should consult his own conscience. So that's about, you know, you don't have to go and make friends with a religious congregation, but many of the early pioneers did, because that's where, you know, the Oxford group and the temperance movement and all of these things. I don't know too much about it, but that is the end of the book study. So thank you all so much for being here. We do keep the